The year was 2145, and Earth, once a small and fragile world suspended in the vastness of space, had transformed into a thriving center of human civilization and exploration. The planet had become a beacon of hope and achievement, the culmination of centuries of scientific discovery, technological advancement, and relentless human determination. Over the course of several hundred years, humanity had expanded beyond Earth's atmosphere, establishing colonies on distant planets and moons scattered across the galaxy. With the advent of faster-than-light travel and the development of advanced spacecraft capable of reaching the farthest corners of the universe, human presence in the stars had become not just a possibility but a reality. From the icy moons of distant gas giants to the lush, fertile worlds on the fringes of human exploration, humanity had spread its wings across the cosmos. Earth, the cradle of this new age of interstellar expansion, had grown into a thriving hub for this vast galactic empire, a world bustling with innovation and progress. The cities on Earth were sprawling metropolises, their skies filled with sleek spacecraft, their streets alive with the hum of technology. The United Earth government, formed after centuries of political strife and division, had become the governing authority of a peaceful and prosperous world. In this golden age, humanity had learned to set aside its differences, uniting to face the challenges of exploring the stars, building vast trade networks, and ensuring that the colonies remained safe and well supplied. At the heart of this growing empire was the Earth Defense Fleet, an enormous and formidable military force tasked with safeguarding the planet and its colonies from any potential threats beyond the solar system. The fleet was composed of dozens of massive warships, each one a marvel of human engineering, equipped with state-of-the-art weapons and defensive systems. These ships patrolled the far reaches of human space, protecting trade routes, monitoring alien activity, and ensuring that humanity's vast interstellar reach remained safe from any hostile force. While the fleet had dealt with minor skirmishes in the past, encounters with space pirates, the occasional rogue alien species, and the dangers posed by unpredictable cosmic events, nothing had prepared humanity for the catastrophe that was about to unfold. The first signs of something deeply unsettling came from the edge of the solar system, where deep space observatories, once used to track asteroids and comets, began to pick up unusual electromagnetic signals. Initially, these signals were thought to be random or the result of natural space phenomena. But as the days turned into weeks, and the signals began to grow in both frequency and complexity, it became clear that something far more sinister was afoot. The signals were not just noise, they were messages, purposeful and deliberate, sent from an intelligent source. Despite the best efforts of Earth's leading scientists, engineers, and military intelligence agencies, the source of these signals could not be identified. They seemed to be coming from a part of space that was completely unexplored, a region where no known alien species had ever been detected. There was no clear pattern or origin, and attempts to decode the signals yielded only fragmented data, each attempt more perplexing than the last. It was only when a new, more sophisticated sensor system was brought online that the truth began to unfold, though the truth was far darker than anyone could have imagined. What began as a trickle of information quickly escalated into a full-blown crisis. Massive ships, seemingly materializing out of nowhere, began to emerge from the black void of space, arriving at the outer reaches of the solar system. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Their sleek, obsidian-colored hulls reflected the light of distant stars with an eerie, almost otherworldly sheen. The designs of the ships were disturbingly perfect, elegant, geometric, and terrifying. They seemed to shimmer with an unnatural energy, a sense of power radiating from them like the press of a heavy hand upon Earth's chest. At first, their approach was subtle, their movements slow and deliberate, as if testing the waters. The ships formed a massive formation, stretching across space like the dark wings of a predator closing in on its prey. It wasn't until the first wave of ships reached the outermost defense satellites that humanity realized the extent of the threat it faced. The satellites, which had once been the pinnacle of Earth's defensive technology, were obliterated in an instant. The aliens, as it quickly became apparent, had no interest in diplomacy or negotiation. They had no need for the petty politics of Earth. They were conquerors, their only goal the subjugation of humanity. The leader of the alien fleet, a being known only as Zarak, transmitted a message directly into the minds of Earth's leaders, bypassing all standard communication channels and demanding humanity's immediate surrender. His words were cold and devoid of emotion, a stark contrast to the terror they instilled. Zarak, the leader of the Zarathian Empire, proclaimed that the time of humanity's dominance in the galaxy had ended. The Zorathians, a highly advanced and militaristic species, had watched humanity's rise for centuries, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Now that moment had arrived. They would not allow Earth to stand in the way of their expansion, and any resistance would be met with total annihilation. Zorak's fleet was an overwhelming force, their ships brimming with weapons capable of destroying entire planets. The alien armada moved with a terrifying sense of coordination and precision, an unstoppable force determined to bring Earth to its knees. As the message from Zorak reverberated across the world, panic began to spread. Earth's leaders, once confident in their power and influence, were now faced with an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered. The might of the Earth Defense Fleet, which had once been a symbol of humanity's strength, now seemed small and insignificant in the face of such an overwhelming force. The human race, which had long believed it was destined to dominate the stars, suddenly found itself on the brink of extinction. Yet even in the face of such insurmountable odds, the spirit of humanity remained unbroken. It was in these darkest of hours that the true character of humankind would be tested, as the Earth Defense Fleet and the people of Earth prepared to make their final stand against an enemy whose might seemed beyond comprehension. This was no longer a mere battle for survival, it was a war for the future of humanity itself. As the world braced itself for the impending invasion, the Earth Defense Fleet went into full mobilization. The governments of Earth, united under the common cause of survival, set aside their differences, recognizing that this was a threat unlike anything they had faced before. The leadership of the United Earth Government called for an immediate global summit, bringing together military commanders, strategists, scientists, and diplomats in a desperate attempt to coordinate a unified response to the Zorathian threat. The urgency in the air was palpable, as leaders from every corner of the planet scrambled to make sense of the situation. Their once advanced military technologies now seemed woefully inadequate in the face of the Zorathian armada. Earth's military planners had long prepared for the possibility of conflict with alien species, but the reality of facing a highly advanced empire with a fleet capable of devastating entire civilizations was something they had never truly anticipated. The human military forces, with all their ships, weapons, and advanced technology, were nothing more than a speck of dust compared to the overwhelming might of the Zorathian invaders. The Earth Defense Fleet, though powerful, had been built to defend against regional threats, pirates, rogue factions, and isolated alien species. It was not designed for a full-scale invasion by a technologically superior enemy. Earth's leaders realized they were now standing on the precipice of oblivion, with only one option left: to fight back. But as the first wave of alien ships neared the planet, the reality of the situation began to sink in. The Zorathians had demonstrated their dominance before even firing a shot, having effortlessly destroyed the outer defense satellites that humanity had relied upon for protection. The sheer scale of their fleet was beyond comprehension, with hundreds of massive warships covering the sky like an impenetrable storm. Each ship was a fortress, bristling with weaponry capable of turning entire cities to rubble in the blink of an eye. Earth's military forces, now fully mobilized and spread across the globe, scrambled to prepare for what was certain to be a battle of unparalleled intensity. But the task ahead seemed almost impossible. The leaders of the United Earth Government convened a series of emergency meetings with the heads of the Earth Defense Fleet, and an urgent discussion about strategy ensued. The overwhelming consensus was that the best course of action would be to prepare for an all-out, desperate assault on the alien armada, hoping to buy time for evacuation and the possible development of new weapons capable of turning the tide of battle. But deep down, everyone knew that this might be humanity's final stand. As the countdown to battle began, a sense of dread filled the air. Yet amid the fear and uncertainty, a glimmer of hope began to emerge. Humanity had always excelled in the face of adversity, whether it was overcoming natural disasters, surviving wars, or inventing life-saving technologies in times of need. In every dark chapter of history, human resilience had shone through, and it was this very quality that the world hoped would save them now. The question remained, however, how could a species so young in the galactic scale possibly stand against a civilization so advanced? Would humanity's ingenuity and courage be enough to break through the seemingly invincible defenses of the Zorathian fleet, or would it be crushed under the weight of the alien onslaught? As the first ships of the Earth Defense Fleet were launched into space, a somber realization took hold. The battle ahead would not be just a clash of military forces, it would be a test of the human spirit itself. With the fate of the Earth hanging in the balance, the men and women aboard the ships knew that they were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their home, for their families, and for the future of humanity. In the vast expanse of space, no help was coming. There were no reinforcements, no allies who could arrive in time to save them. This was a battle that would be decided by the sheer willpower of those who were willing to stand and fight. Earth's fate was now in their hands. As the fleet gathered in formation above the planet, every ship, every soldier, and every leader was filled with a sense of foreboding, knowing that this would be a war unlike any other, a war where the stakes could not be higher. But at the same time, there was an undeniable determination, a collective resolve that surged through the ranks, pushing humanity to stand tall in the face of overwhelming darkness. The world watched as the Earth Defense Fleet prepared to engage the Zorathian Armada, knowing that every battle fought in the next few days would be a fight for humanity's very existence. The first battle between the Earth Defense Fleet and the Zorathian Armada was nothing short of catastrophic. It began with a burst of light, a flash that lit up the sky like the dawn of a new, terrifying era. The Earth Defense Fleet, consisting of hundreds of ships, advanced cautiously toward the Zorathian fleet, its commanders filled with equal parts resolve and dread. There was no turning back now. The enemy was here, and every ship in the fleet knew that the survival of humanity rested upon their shoulders. The Zorathians, though, were already several steps ahead. As the human ships approached, the vast Zorathian Armada began to unfold with a precision that spoke to their military prowess. Their ships, dark and ominous, seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy, and their movements were in perfect synchrony, as if guided by some unseen force. It was clear that the Zorathians had not come to negotiate, they had come to conquer. The first shots fired by the alien fleet were swift and devastating. Beams of energy streaked through the darkness of space, impacting the human ships with such force that entire vessels were obliterated in an instant. The Zorathian weapons were not just powerful, they were designed to disintegrate matter at a molecular level, leaving nothing behind but debris. The human ships, despite their advanced armor and weapons, were no match for the sheer destructive force of the alien fleet. As the battle raged on, the true horror of the situation became apparent. The Earth Defense Fleet was being torn apart, its ships falling one after another as the Zorathians pressed their attack with relentless precision. Yet the human forces fought back with every ounce of strength they could muster, launching counterattacks that, though courageous, proved ineffective in the face of such overwhelming might. The human commanders issued orders to retreat, hoping to regroup and salvage what little remained of their fleet, but it was already too late. The Zorathians had anticipated this move, and their ships began to close in, cutting off any hope of escape. Earth's defenders, realizing that they were trapped, made one final, desperate attempt to strike back. Fighter ships were deployed, piloting straight into the heart of the enemy fleet in a last-ditch effort to destroy key targets and slow the Zorathian advance. The skies above Earth were soon filled with chaos, explosions, flashes of light, and the twisting wreckage of ships, both human and alien. It was a massacre, a one-sided slaughter where the human forces, despite their bravery, were no match for the sheer firepower of the invaders. As the last remnants of the Earth Defense Fleet were driven back, the Zorathians sent another chilling message to humanity. The transmission came through with a cold, mechanical voice that echoed across the ruins of Earth's defenses: "This is your last warning. Surrender, or face the annihilation of your world." The message was not a threat, it was a declaration of intent. The Zorathians had come to Earth with the full force of their empire, and they were not going to leave until they had achieved their goal. Earth's leaders, devastated by the loss of so many lives and the destruction of their fleet, were faced with a grim decision: would they capitulate to the Zorathians, or would they continue to fight, knowing that any further resistance might result in the complete destruction of their civilization? As the final remnants of humanity's great military fleet retreated into orbit, the survivors were left to contemplate their next move. Despair had settled in over the planet. The cities, once bustling with life and energy, now felt eerily quiet, as if the very air had been drained of hope. Yet, even in the midst of such overwhelming loss, there was still a flicker of defiance among the people of Earth. They had not been conquered yet, not completely. The alien armada was undeniably powerful, but the spirit of humanity, its will to survive, could not be so easily extinguished. Small groups of resistance fighters, many of them civilians who had once lived ordinary lives, began to organize in secret. They knew that without the strength of the military, the Earth defense fleet had fallen, but they also knew that they could not simply accept defeat. They began to gather weapons, to form plans, and to launch guerrilla strikes against the invading forces, hoping to disrupt the alien invaders and buy time for the rest of humanity. It was a long shot, a desperate measure in the face of annihilation, but it was a measure nonetheless. As the days wore on, these small acts of resistance began to grow, creating a network of fighters scattered across Earth's continents. Their goal was simple: to survive, and to eventually launch a counteroffensive strong enough to turn the tide of the war. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and though the human race had taken a devastating blow, there was still hope, however faint, that they could reclaim their home. As Earth's survivors fought to organize their resistance, an unexpected ally emerged from the most unlikely of places, the remnants of Earth's most advanced scientific minds. Deep beneath the surface of the planet, in secret research facilities scattered across the globe, human ingenuity began to show its true potential. Amid the wreckage of military defeat, the scientists and engineers who had once worked tirelessly to build Earth's defenses began to adapt, repurpose, and innovate. They knew that humanity's survival hinged not just on brute strength but on outsmarting the invaders. The Zorathians, with their immense technological superiority, had shown that they were capable of wiping out human fleets with ease. But what they had not counted on was humanity's ability to think differently, to innovate under pressure. One of the greatest breakthroughs came from the study of the Zorathian ships themselves. Although their weapons had proved devastating, their hulls, though incredibly advanced, had an unexpected vulnerability. The Zorathian ships, it seemed, were powered by a rare form of energy that humanity had only begun to understand. This energy, which radiated from the core of their ships, had a unique signature, one that was almost imperceptible but could be detected with the right kind of technology. The scientists, in collaboration with the Resistance, began to experiment with new ways to harness this discovery. It wasn't long before they developed a weapon, a pulsimeter, that could disrupt the Zorathian energy field, causing temporary malfunctions in their ship's systems. The weapon was crude at first, requiring precise targeting and careful calibration, but it was a start. The scientists worked around the clock, refining their designs, testing their theories, and creating a network of resistance cells that could distribute these weapons to the brave fighters on the ground. These pulsimeters were small but powerful, designed to disable Zorathian technology, rendering their ships vulnerable for just long enough to allow humanity's forces to launch an attack. The resistance fighters, many of them former soldiers, civilians, and even former scientists, began to engage in highly coordinated guerrilla tactics, ambushing alien patrols and disabling Zorathian machinery with the newly developed weapons. These skirmishes, while small in scale compared to the epic space battles that had raged just weeks before, were critical in shifting the tide. Each successful mission, each victory, no matter how small, sent a message to the Zorathians: humanity would not be easily defeated. The Earth's resistance movement began to gain momentum. What had once been small, scattered cells of fighters now began to organize more effectively, working together in coordination across different continents. Cities that had once been darkened by the oppressive shadow of the invaders were now filled with the light of defiance. People who had once cowered in fear began to take to the streets, fighting back against their invaders with whatever they could find: makeshift weapons, old military surplus, and even homemade explosives. The Zorathians, despite their technological superiority, had underestimated the resolve of the human spirit. They had thought that their advanced weaponry would be enough to crush any resistance, that Earth's people would bow to their might. But they were wrong. The people of Earth, from the farmers in rural villages to the former soldiers in hidden underground bunkers, were willing to fight for their homes, for their families, and for the future of their species. As the resistance continued to grow, something even more remarkable began to take shape. The human survivors, united in their struggle, started to develop new technologies, drawing upon their old knowledge and the insights gained from the battle against the Zorathians. They began to reverse engineer captured alien technology, adapting it for their own use. It wasn't long before humanity developed new starships, smaller and more agile than their previous designs, equipped with the pulse disruptors and other advanced weaponry that could level the playing field. The Zorathian fleet, once an unstoppable force, was beginning to feel the pressure. What had started as a one-sided conflict was now beginning to shift, as Earth's resistance forces began to make more daring and effective strikes against the invaders. In the skies above Earth, the first true battle between Zorathian and human starships took place. The human ships, equipped with newly developed technology, darted in and out of the larger Zarathian vessels, using their smaller size and greater agility to evade the enemy's superior firepower. The fight was brutal, with heavy losses on both sides, but it was a sign that humanity was not done yet. The Zarathians had underestimated humanity's capacity for innovation, for resilience, and for ingenuity. As the first human victories began to pile up, even the Zarathians began to take notice. They had conquered countless worlds before, but Earth was different. Earth was a planet of survivors, of dreamers, of fighters. The Zarathians had expected an easy victory, a quick subjugation of a primitive species. What they had found instead was a planet full of warriors, united by a common cause and driven by the unwavering belief that they could overcome any obstacle, no matter how insurmountable it seemed. The tide of battle had begun to turn, and for the first time since the invasion began, humanity dared to believe that victory might be within reach. But they also knew that the greatest challenges were still ahead. This was just the beginning of a long and brutal war. The Zarathian Armada was vast, their power still overwhelming, but humanity had learned one undeniable truth: they could fight back. And they would continue to fight until Earth was free once more. The war between humanity and the Zarathian invaders raged on for years, with the conflict growing ever more intense as both sides adapted to the shifting landscape of battle. What had begun as a desperate struggle for survival had transformed into a full-scale war, with every corner of Earth touched by the flames of conflict. Humanity's resistance continued to grow stronger with each passing day. The new starships, equipped with pulse disruptors and alien technology, began to form the backbone of humanity's counteroffensive. The resistance fighters, once scattered and disorganized, now operated with precision and coordination, conducting complex strikes against Zarathian supply lines, weapon depots, and command centers. In the skies above Earth, humanity's forces began to launch full-scale attacks against the Zarathian fleet, determined to take back control of their planet. The Zarathian Armada, though vast and powerful, was not invincible. Their overconfidence, born from centuries of unchecked conquest, had led them to underestimate the resilience of humanity. As the human forces gained more ground, the Zarathians were forced to adapt, but their response came too late. The human fleet, though smaller, had one advantage the Zarathians could never replicate: unity. The people of Earth fought not as isolated units but as a single, cohesive force. Nations, once divided by borders and ideologies, now stood together as one, united by the singular purpose of reclaiming their world. Despite the overwhelming odds, the human spirit proved to be a force far greater than the invaders had ever imagined. The final, decisive battle took place in the skies above Earth, as the last remnants of the Zarathian Armada converged on the planet's atmosphere. The battle was a fierce and brutal clash of technology and willpower. The Zarathians launched wave after wave of devastating attacks, but the human forces, bolstered by their new technologies and relentless determination, fought back with everything they had. The pulse disruptors, perfected over the course of the war, began to turn the tide of the battle, disabling Zarathian ships and leaving them vulnerable to human strikes. The human fleet, though outnumbered, used their superior agility and tactics to exploit every weakness in the Zarathian Armada. Ships danced through space like hunters in a deadly game, striking at their enemies with surgical precision. And then, after years of relentless warfare, after countless battles, the final blow was struck. The Zarathian flagship, the heart of the Armada, was disabled by a direct hit from a human pulse disruptor, causing a chain reaction that sent the massive ship tumbling through space. With the loss of their flagship, the Zarathian fleet was thrown into disarray. The remaining ships, now vulnerable and leaderless, were systematically destroyed by the human forces. One by one, the Zarathian warships fell from the sky, their once imposing presence reduced to nothing more than debris. The victory, though hard-earned, was decisive. Humanity had won. The Zarathian Empire, once thought to be an unstoppable force, was vanquished by the sheer will and ingenuity of a species that refused to be broken. Earth, battered and scarred from years of war, stood victorious. In the aftermath of the battle, as the dust settled and the skies cleared, the people of Earth began the long process of rebuilding. The war had cost them dearly, their cities, their families, their way of life, but they had emerged stronger than ever. The lessons of the war, the sacrifices made, and the unity that had forged them into an unbreakable force, would stay with humanity forever. The people of Earth, once small and fragile in the vastness of the universe, had proven to the stars that humanity would never surrender. They had fought against the odds, against an enemy far superior in every way, and they had triumphed. This victory, this epic showdown against the alien Armada, had shown the universe what humanity was capable of. It had been a battle for survival, a battle for Earth, and above all, a battle for the future of humanity. The legacy of that fight would echo through the cosmos for generations to come, as a reminder that no matter how powerful the enemy, no matter how dark the hour, the spirit of humanity could never be extinguished. And so, the people of Earth looked to the future with hope and determination, knowing that they had conquered not only the Zorathian invaders but their own limitations. They had proved that, when united, humanity was capable of facing the most impossible challenges and emerging victorious. The stars, once a distant and mysterious frontier, were now within their reach. And as they looked toward the vast expanse of space, humanity knew that this victory was only the beginning. The universe awaited.